Her family left the paralyzed alien girl to rot in a scrapyard, but a human refused to walk away. Once a proud city of the Elari, it now lay in decay, a silent witness to abandonment and neglect. The air smelled of metal and dust, thick with the remains of machines that had not moved for decades. Among this desolation, life was fragile. Very few dared to live here, and fewer still had hope. Yet in the heart of the scrapyard, a small figure moved with quiet determination. Leora was a young Elari girl, no more than 15 cycles old, though the life she had endured made her seem older. Her body betrayed her in ways her people could not accept. Paralyzed from the waist down due to a childhood accident, she had been left behind by her own family when the society turned cruel. Strength and independence were prized among the Elari, and weakness was discarded. Her family had abandoned her here years ago, among broken ships, twisted metal, and scattered tools, believing she would either die or survive quietly, unseen and forgotten. But Leora had survived. She had learned to navigate the scrapyard in a specially crafted hover chair, scavenging scraps of food, water, and tools to keep herself alive. The scraps weren't much, but she had mastered patience and ingenuity. Every day was a struggle, yet she clung to life with stubborn tenacity. Despite her hardships, Leora never lost her curiosity. Every night, when the twin moons of Virely arose, she would look to the sky and imagine the stars beyond the clouds of her broken world. She dreamed of exploring, of seeing distant planets and civilizations that existed far beyond the decay of her abandoned city. Her mind was sharp, and her imagination vivid, though the rest of her body refused to cooperate. On this particular evening, as Leora maneuvered carefully between piles of twisted metal, she noticed a bright light approaching from the horizon. It was not the usual glow of the moons or the faint gleam of distant fires. This light moved with purpose, descending slowly and steadily toward the scrapyard. Her heart raced. Visitors were rare here, and most who came were scavengers or thieves, hoping to steal whatever she had collected. But something about this light was different. It was steady, clean, and purposeful. Leora watched as it landed gently on a clearing nearby, kicking up a small cloud of dust. From within the glow emerged a figure she had never seen before, a human. Humans were legends among the Elari, distant beings from the stars who were said to travel far and wide, exploring worlds and surviving in ways that many Elari could not imagine. Few had ever seen one in person. And now here was a human, stepping cautiously from a sleek silver spacecraft that gleamed even in the dim light. The human was tall, with strong features and a calm presence. His eyes scanned the scrapyard, and then they landed on Leora. Unlike the others who had passed by her over the years without notice, this human seemed to see her, not as a weak, discarded child, but as someone alive and worth attention. Leora froze. She had learned long ago to distrust visitors. Most would ignore her or try to exploit her vulnerability, but something in the human's gaze was different. There was no fear, no pity, no judgment, just recognition and curiosity. The human stepped closer, raising a hand slowly to show he meant no harm. "Hello," he said, his voice gentle and warm. "I don't want to hurt you. Are you okay?" Leora's eyes narrowed. She wanted to hide, to retreat behind the piles of metal, but her curiosity got the better of her fear. "I'm fine," she replied cautiously, her voice quiet but firm. "Who are you?" "My name is Captain Ethan Voss," the human said. "I come from a world far from here. I explore planets, learn about civilizations, and sometimes I help those who cannot help themselves." Leora tilted her head, unsure whether to trust him. "Help? Why would a human help me? My family left me here. Everyone leaves me here." Ethan knelt slightly, bringing himself closer to her level. "Not everyone," he said softly. "I'm here. I won't walk away." The words felt strange and comforting to Leora. She had not heard such sincerity in years. Slowly, she edged her hoverchair closer to him, inspecting the human. His clothes were practical, designed for space travel and survival, and a small backpack hung over one shoulder, full of tools and supplies. He did not look like someone who had come to take anything from her. Ethan noticed her curiosity and smiled. "I have water, food, and some medical supplies. You seem in need of a little help." Leora hesitated, remembering the times she had trusted others only to be abandoned. But the warmth in his eyes and the calm in his voice were unlike anything she had encountered. She allowed him to approach, cautiously taking the small water container he offered. You're kind," she whispered, almost to herself. I try to be, Ethan said with a gentle laugh. But kind or not, I am not leaving. You are not alone anymore. For the first time in years, Leora felt a spark of hope. It was fragile and small, like a candle flickering in the wind, but it was there. She realized that survival was no longer just about scavenging scraps. Perhaps she could truly live again, and maybe even explore the stars she had always dreamed about. Over the next few hours, Ethan helped Leora examine the scrapyard more safely. He noticed the clever modifications she had made to her hover chair, how she had created paths through the dangerous piles of metal, and how she had even constructed simple tools from broken machinery. Leora was not weak. She was resourceful, intelligent, and brave. Ethan said, "You know, I've seen many civilizations, many species. Strength is not always in the body. Sometimes the strongest beings are those who survive despite everything against them. That is real strength." Leora listened, her heart pounding with new possibilities. She had been abandoned for her weakness, but this human seemed to value her for what she was, capable, clever, and alive. Perhaps the rules of her world were not the only way to define strength. As night fell completely, the twin moons bathed the scrapyard in pale silver light. Leora and Ethan sat together on the ground, examining some old tools and broken machines. Ethan was fascinated by the ingenuity of the Elari technology, while Leora was amazed at the human tools that could repair and enhance her hover chair. "You know," Ethan said, adjusting a small component on her chair, "with a few upgrades you could move faster, reach places you never thought possible, and maybe even explore beyond this scrapyard." Leora's eyes widened. Explore beyond the scrapyard. She had never dared to imagine such a thing. Her world had been reduced to piles of metal, hunger, and loneliness. But now, for the first time, she felt a door open to possibilities she had only dreamed about. "Really?" she asked, hope coloring her voice. "Really," Ethan replied with a firm nod. "But only if you want to. I don't force anyone, I only offer a choice. You can stay here or you can see the stars with me. The decision is yours." Leora's mind raced. She remembered the cold, empty years of survival, the loneliness, the feeling of being left behind. And now this human was offering something she had never had, a chance to live fully, to explore, to be valued. Her heart pounded with excitement, fear, and anticipation. That night, as Ethan worked to repair her chair and collect supplies, Leora realized something important. She did not have to be defined by her paralysis, her family's abandonment, or the expectations of her society. She could define herself. She could be strong in ways her people had never understood. And with the help of this human, she might just see the stars she had always dreamed of. When the first light of dawn touched the scrapyard, Leora looked at Ethan with newfound determination. She was ready to take a step into the unknown, to trust again, and to reclaim the life that had been denied to her. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive, not as a discarded child, but as a being with purpose, courage, and hope. The abandoned city around her remained silent and lifeless, but within Leora, a fire had been ignited. A fire that would not be extinguished, no matter the challenges ahead. And with a human by her side who refused to walk away, perhaps the future was no longer something to fear, but something to embrace. The morning light of Violia seeped through the jagged remains of the scrapyard, illuminating twisted metal and broken machines that had not moved in decades. The air smelled faintly of burnt wires and dust, yet it was quieter than any other part of the city. In this silence, life slowly stirred. Leora woke early, her mind already alert. She had not slept well the night before. The presence of Ethan, the human, brought a mix of excitement and cautious hope. She had never met anyone like him, someone who did not judge her for being weak, someone who actually stayed when most others would have walked away. Ethan was already at work beside her hover chair. His hands moved skillfully, using small tools and pieces of metal to adjust the chair's motors and sensors. Leora watched in fascination. Humans were clever, and their technology, though different from the Elari's, had a simplicity that worked in harmony with her chair. "Almost done," Ethan said, tightening a final bolt. "This chair should be faster now, smoother. You'll be able to move with more control, maybe even reach places you could only dream of before." Leora hesitated. She had spent years moving carefully through the scrapyard, every turn calculated to avoid injury. The thought of moving faster was both thrilling and terrifying. "Faster?" she asked. "What if I crash? What if I break something?" Ethan smiled. You might, but that is how we learn. We take small risks, and each time we get better. I'll be here to help. With careful hands, Leora tested the upgraded chair. At first, it moved too quickly for her comfort. She jerked slightly at the unexpected acceleration. But Ethan's calm presence and patient guidance helped her adjust. Slowly, she found her rhythm, gliding over the scrap piles with a sense of freedom she had never known. This is amazing," Leora exclaimed. "I've never felt so free." "You're stronger than you think," Ethan said. "Strength isn't always about muscles. It's about courage, creativity, and persistence, and you have all three." Leora smiled, a rare warmth filling her chest. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not for her weakness, but for her potential. Her mind raced with possibilities. She had explored the scrapyard before, but now, with mobility and guidance, she could reach areas that had been out of reach, uncover secrets buried under decades of neglect. Together, Leora and Ethan began to explore. They moved carefully, but the upgraded hoverchair allowed Leora to navigate uneven ground with ease. Rusted ships that had been dormant for years suddenly seemed like playgrounds of discovery. Broken machines revealed tiny compartments, old circuits, and manuals with faded writing. Each discovery was a small triumph, and Leora's excitement was infectious. "You know," Ethan said, examining an old Elari control panel, "you have an eye for finding useful things." "You've lived here long enough to know which pieces matter and which don't," Leora shrugged. "I have to survive," she said simply. "Everything else is just waiting for someone to notice." Ethan nodded thoughtfully, and now someone has. As they moved deeper into the scrapyard, they found remnants of old Elari technology, far beyond what the casual scavenger could understand. Machines that had once been used for exploration, communication, and transportation lay dormant, broken by time and neglect. Leora's eyes widened as she recognized some of the components. She had learned about them from old manuals and diagrams. These are from the early explorers," she whispered. "Ships designed to leave the planet to see the stars. My family, they knew how to operate them, but they left me here. They didn't think I was worth teaching." Ethan listened silently, his expression serious. "It doesn't matter what they thought. You are here now and you can learn. You can do whatever you want." Leora stared at him, astonished. No one had ever said such things to her before. Not her teachers, not her peers, and certainly not her family. The words stirred something inside her, a seed of determination that began to grow rapidly. For hours, they worked together, testing small engines, examining circuits, and even repairing a broken hover drone that had been abandoned for years. Leora's hands trembled with excitement as she activated the drone for the first time. It lifted off the ground, spinning gracefully in the air. "I did it!" Leora cheered. Her voice echoed through the scrapyard, bouncing off rusted metal towers and broken walls. For a moment, the emptiness felt less oppressive, replaced by the hum of new life. "You did it," Ethan said, smiling proudly. "And now imagine what else we can do." The day passed quickly, and the shadows grew long as evening approached. Leora's energy was boundless, fueled not just by movement, but by a newfound sense of possibility. She realized that survival was no longer just about getting through another day. It was about exploring, learning, and reclaiming her life from the ruins of abandonment. That night, as they sat beside a small fire Ethan had made using a portable generator, Leora spoke quietly. "Why did you stay? Why did you care about me when everyone else ignored me?" Ethan looked into the flames, his eyes thoughtful. "Because I believe that every life has value. You've survived when most would have given up. That shows strength. And because I think everyone deserves a chance, no matter how hopeless it seems." Leora felt a lump in her throat. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever believed in her. The firelight flickered across her face, and for the first time in years she allowed herself to hope that life could be more than just survival. "You make it sound so easy," she said softly. "But it's not. I'm paralyzed. I can't do what other kids do. I can't even leave this scrapyard alone." Ethan shook his head gently. "You're thinking too small. Look at the things you've done today. You moved faster, reached higher, and fixed more than I expected. That isn't weakness. That's ingenuity and courage. You just need to see yourself the way I see you." Leora looked away, feeling a strange mixture of pride and disbelief. Perhaps he was right. Perhaps strength was not in the body, but in the mind, the heart, and the will to act. Over the next few days, Ethan and Leora became inseparable. They explored every corner of the scrapyard, discovering hidden nooks, secret compartments, and ancient devices that had lain untouched for decades. Ethan taught Leora how to repair circuits, navigate maps, and even understand human technology that could complement Elari engineering. In turn, Leora shared her knowledge of hidden paths, structural weaknesses, and clever mechanisms designed by her people long ago. Through their shared work, a bond grew. It was not the bond of master and student, but of equals learning from each other. Leora began to laugh more, to express curiosity, and to feel excitement she had thought was lost forever. One evening, as the twin moons of Violia rose high, Ethan stopped and looked at her seriously. "Leora," he said, "there is something I want to show you, but it's not here in the scrapyard. It's beyond. Do you trust me?" Leora hesitated, the old fear gnawing at her mind. To leave the scrapyard was to step into the unknown. Yet she remembered the freedom of her upgraded hoverchair, the thrill of discovery, and Ethan's unwavering support. Slowly, she nodded. "I trust you," Ethan smiled. "Good, then tomorrow we start a new kind of journey. One that doesn't end here." That night, Leora lay in her small makeshift shelter, staring at the stars through the gaps in the ruined roof. She thought about her family, about the life she had been denied, and about the possibilities that lay ahead. For the first time, she didn't feel abandoned. She felt seen. She felt alive, and as she drifted into sleep, she dreamed not of survival, but of adventure. She dreamed of distant worlds, of spaceships gliding silently among stars, and of a life where weakness was not a curse but a different kind of strength. When morning came, the scrapyard was bathed in pale light once again. Leora was ready. With Ethan's guidance, she would leave the ruins behind, explore the hidden technology she had uncovered, and begin a journey that would take her beyond the limits her people had imposed on her. The abandoned city of Violia seemed quieter than ever, as if it knew that something extraordinary was about to happen. And in the heart of the scrapyard, a young alien girl, once forgotten and discarded, prepared to take her first steps toward a future filled with hope, discovery, and the unbreakable bond between a human and an alien. For the first time in her life, Leora truly felt that the stars were within reach. The scrapyard of Violia had always been a place of silence and decay. Rusted machines creaked in the wind, and broken towers leaned like tired giants. But now a new presence stirred in the ruins, a presence of determination, curiosity, and life. Leora was no longer just surviving. She was discovering, learning, and growing stronger with every passing moment. With Ethan by her side, she navigated through the piles of metal and remnants of a civilization long forgotten. The upgraded hoverchair allowed her to move faster, explore further, and even reach areas that had been completely inaccessible before. Each day brought a new discovery, a hidden engine, a set of manuals with faded instructions, or a partially intact communication device. Leora's favorite discoveries, however, were the old Elari ships buried beneath layers of scrap. Some were small and fragile, meant for short-range travel. Others were larger, with the potential to reach orbit if restored. The technology fascinated her. She had learned much from the old manuals, but Ethan's knowledge of human engineering added new possibilities. Together, they began to piece together what had once been a fleet capable of exploring the stars. "You see this?" Leora said one morning, pointing to a console partially buried under a pile of metal sheets. "This is a navigation control. With some power, it could guide a ship through space." Ethan leaned closer, examining the panel. "Yes, it's old but functional. If we can repair the main systems, we might even test it. You'd be piloting a real starship." Leora's eyes sparkled. For years, she had dreamed of seeing the stars, but they had seemed unreachable. Now, with the right tools and guidance, the dream felt real. The spark of adventure ignited in her chest, pushing aside the fear and loneliness that had dominated her life for so long. But the scrapyard was not without dangers. News of Leora and the humans spread quietly among the few remaining Elari who roamed the ruins. Some were curious, others were wary. Humans were rare visitors, and the idea of one helping a paralyzed girl challenged the strict beliefs of the Elari society. Leora's family, in particular, had long taught that weakness should be shunned. A human who valued her for her intelligence and courage alone was almost unthinkable. Despite this, Leora felt empowered. For the first time, she realized that strength was not always measured by muscle or speed. Strength could be in intelligence, ingenuity, courage, and resilience. And she had all of these qualities, especially now with Ethan's encouragement and support. One day, while exploring a particularly dense pile of scrap, Leora uncovered something extraordinary. Buried beneath layers of metal and dust was a partially intact Elari exploration ship, larger than any she had seen before. Its hull was dented and rusted, but the structure was sound, and some of its systems were still intact. This is incredible," Leora whispered, running her hands over the smooth, worn metal. "It could fly, it could really fly." Ethan knelt beside her, inspecting the ship carefully. "Yes, with repairs and some power we could get it moving. But it will take time, effort, and careful planning. Are you ready for that?" Leora nodded, her heart pounding with excitement. "I am. I want to see the stars. I want to prove that I am not weak. I want to show everyone that I can do something amazing, even if they abandon me." Over the next several days, they worked tirelessly. Ethan repaired circuits, reconnected power lines, and taught Leora how to read complex diagrams. Leora, in turn, shared her knowledge of the scrapyard, guiding Ethan through hidden tunnels, secret compartments, and areas that were structurally unsafe for anyone unfamiliar with the terrain. The synergy between human and alien created progress faster than either could have achieved alone. As the ship slowly came back to life, a sense of rebellion grew within Leora. She realized that the rules her family and her society had imposed were not absolute. They had left her behind, believing she was weak, but she was proving them wrong. Every repaired system, every functional panel, every small success became a statement. She would not be defined by others' expectations. One afternoon, as they tested a secondary engine, Leora's family appeared. They had been alerted by other scavengers about the human and the girl moving with unusual purpose. Their faces were stern, filled with disbelief and anger. "Leora!" one of them shouted. "What are you doing? You should remain here where you belong. You cannot fly. You cannot leave. This is our law." Leora's heart raced, but she felt no fear. She had waited too long for this moment. "No," she said firmly. "I will not stay. I will not let your rules define me. I may be paralyzed, but I am not weak. I am capable, and I will see the stars." Her family's eyes widened in shock. They had left her to rot, believing she would never rise above her limitations. Now she was standing taller than ever, not physically, but in spirit and determination. Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "She has every right to make her own choices. You left her behind once, but she does not belong to your rules. She is alive, capable, and free to choose her own path." For a moment, the scrapyard was silent. The wind whistled through broken metal, carrying with it the weight of years of neglect and abandonment. Leora's family, unsure and unprepared for defiance, finally turned away, muttering under their breath. They could not understand her courage, nor could they accept that a human had helped her rise above their expectations. Leora exhaled slowly, her heart pounding. She had won not against her family, but against the idea that she was weak, powerless, and abandoned. She had reclaimed her life, and now she was ready to take the next step. Together, she and Ethan began preparing the ship for a longer journey. They repaired its engines, tested its navigation systems, and restored its communication arrays. Each success brought Leora more confidence and excitement. She was no longer the abandoned girl of the scrapyard. She was a pilot, an explorer, and a being with the courage to challenge the norms of her society. As they worked, Ethan noticed a pattern in the ship's systems. "Leora, this ship was part of an old fleet," he explained. "It was designed for long-distance exploration, for reaching other star systems. Your people left it behind when they thought no one could use it, but you could be the first to bring it back to life." Leora's eyes widened. "Other stars, other planets, really?" "Yes," Ethan said with a smile. "If we repair it fully, you could travel beyond Violia, beyond the systems your family ever imagined. You could see worlds that no one here has seen in centuries." For the first time, Leora felt truly limitless. She realized that the scrapyard, which had once seemed like a prison, was now a launching point. Every broken machine, every rusted tower, every abandoned tool was a stepping stone to something greater. She was no longer confined by her body, her family, or the judgments of her society. Days turned into weeks as they worked tirelessly. Leora learned to operate complex controls, to read navigation charts, and to manage the ship systems. Ethan guided her patiently, never rushing, always encouraging. She discovered that her mind, sharp and analytical, was as valuable as any physical strength. She had a gift for problem-solving, for understanding how systems worked, and for thinking creatively when challenges arose. During a brief rest one evening, Leora looked out at the night sky, dotted with stars she had only ever imagined. "Ethan," she said softly, I think I am ready. I want to see what's out there. I want to show everyone that being different isn't weakness. It's its strength in a way they can't understand." Ethan nodded, his face illuminated by the twin moons. "Then let's prepare. The stars are waiting, and this time you will go with confidence and courage, not fear and abandonment." The scrapyard, once a place of despair and neglect, now felt alive. Machines hummed, engines sparked, and the air carried the promise of adventure. Leora had transformed from a paralyzed, abandoned girl into a determined explorer, ready to challenge expectations and embrace the unknown. And as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Leora and Ethan stood before the partially restored ship, ready to ignite its engines and begin a journey that would take them beyond the scrapyard, beyond the limitations of her past, and into a future filled with hope, courage, and the uncharted wonders of the galaxy. The day began with a pale, cold light filtering through the scrapyard. Rusted towers cast long, jagged shadows over piles of metal, and the air was filled with the faint hiss of old machinery. Leora had risen early, her mind focused and determined. Today was the day she and Ethan would take the next step. They would test the fully repaired Elari ship and prepare to leave the scrapyard forever. Leora wheeled herself over to the ship, the upgraded hoverchair moving smoothly across uneven terrain. Ethan followed closely, carrying tools and equipment. The ship gleamed faintly under the light, its hull patched with newly repaired metal and powered circuits humming softly. For the first time, the vessel felt alive. "We're ready," Ethan said, glancing at her. "The engines are stable, the navigation systems are working, and the communication arrays are functional. If you're ready, we can test the flight controls today." Leora's heart raced. Her hands shook slightly as she gripped the controls, but the excitement coursing through her was stronger than fear. "I'm ready," she said firmly. "Let's do it." They began testing the ship's systems carefully. Leora followed Ethan's instructions, her sharp mind quickly adapting to the unfamiliar controls. The engines purred, responding smoothly to her touch, and the ship glided over the scrapyard like a living creature. For the first time in her life, Leora felt a sense of power, freedom, and purpose. But freedom rarely comes without challenges. As they prepared for a longer test, shadows moved in the distance. Leora's family, enraged by her defiance and determined to reclaim control, had returned with a small group of Elari enforcers. Their eyes were filled with anger, disbelief, and fear of the human influence that had helped their daughter rise above them. "Leora," her mother shouted, her voice echoing across the scrapyard. "Stop this madness. You belong here. You cannot leave. This is our law." Leora's jaw tightened. For years, she had felt powerless under their judgment. Now she felt a fire burn within her. "No," she shouted, her voice steady and clear. "I will not stay. I will not let fear, rules, or anger control me. I am alive, I am capable, and I will go where I choose." Her family hesitated, unsure how to respond. They had expected fear, hesitation, or tears. Instead, they faced a girl who had learned to survive, to fight, and to take command of her life. Leora's eyes met Ethan's, and in that silent glance she drew strength. Ethan stepped forward calmly. "She is free to make her own decisions. You left her behind once. Now she chooses her path. If you try to stop her, you will face consequences beyond your control." The enforcers shifted uneasily. They were trained to follow rules, but they had not anticipated defiance combined with human ingenuity. Leora had transformed from a passive, abandoned child into a determined explorer. She was no longer vulnerable. Leora turned back to the ship. "Ethan, prepare for launch," she said, her voice steady. "I will not let them stop me." With practiced hands, Ethan activated the ship's engines. A low hum filled the scrapyard as power coursed through circuits and fuel lines. Leora gripped the controls, her mind focused and alert. Slowly, the ship lifted off the ground, gliding a few meters above the rubble. Sparks flew as it cleared piles of scrap, and the air thrummed with energy. Her family watched, wide-eyed, as the vessel hovered and then moved forward. Leora's determination radiated from her, unshakable. She maneuvered the ship with precision, avoiding obstacles, while Ethan guided her through emergency procedures in case her family attempted interference. The enforcers finally realized that physical strength alone could not stop her. They shouted orders, but Leora's skill, intelligence, and the advanced ship's capabilities allowed her to evade them. Every movement she made, every decision, reinforced her independence. She was no longer the child they had abandoned. She was a pilot, a strategist, and a force to be reckoned with. But her family was relentless. They pursued her through the scrapyard, using old vehicles and crude technology to keep pace. Leora's heart pounded as she dodged debris, maneuvered between broken towers, and anticipated their attacks. Ethan's calm voice guided her through each maneuver, offering advice and encouragement. "Left, sharp turn ahead." "Use the thrusters," he called, and Leora responded instinctively, trusting his guidance. The chase was intense. Rusted beams and metal sheets clanged under the pursuit, sending clouds of dust into the air. Leora's mind raced, calculating every move, every angle, every escape route. She realized that survival required more than speed. It required ingenuity, courage, and quick thinking. Finally, she spotted a narrow tunnel leading to a hidden section of the scrapyard she had discovered weeks before. "This way," she shouted, steering the ship with precision. The pursuers struggled to follow, their vehicles getting stuck among debris, while Leora's knowledge of the terrain gave her a clear advantage. As they emerged from the tunnel, Ethan looked at her with admiration. "You're incredible," he said. "You're not just surviving, you're thriving." Leora smiled, a mixture of relief and exhilaration flooding her senses. For the first time, she felt truly in control of her life. She had faced her family, overcome their expectations, and escaped without harm. She was no longer defined by her paralysis or abandonment. She was defined by her courage and determination. But the real test was yet to come. Beyond the scrapyard lay open skies and the unknown stars. Leora realized that leaving Violia would mean a permanent break from the past. Her family, her old life, and everything familiar would be behind her. The choice was hers: return to the safety of the ruins or step into a future full of uncertainty and adventure. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "The choice is yours, Leora. You've proven you can survive here. But beyond this, you can thrive. You can explore the stars, see worlds no one from Violia has seen in centuries, and define yourself on your own terms." Leora took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her decision. Memories of loneliness, abandonment, and struggle surfaced, but they no longer held power over her. She had grown stronger, smarter, and braver. She had discovered hidden strengths within herself, and with Ethan's support, she could face the unknown with confidence. I want to leave," she said finally, her voice steady. "I want to see the stars. I want to show everyone that I am not weak, that I am capable, and that compassion and courage matter more than blind rules." Ethan smiled. "Then let's go." The engines roared to life, vibrating through the metal of the ship and sending a thrill through Leora's chest. She guided the vessel toward open skies, soaring above the scrapyard with a sense of liberation she had never known. Below, the ruins of Violia shrank into the distance, a reminder of the life she had survived, not a cage holding her back. As they rose higher, the stars began to emerge, twinkling in the vast expanse of space. Leora's eyes widened in awe. She had dreamed of this moment for years, but the reality was far more beautiful and exhilarating than she had imagined. She felt weightless, free, and alive in a way that the scrapyard could never have allowed. Ethan guided her through the final systems checks, ensuring the ship was fully operational for long-distance travel. Leora absorbed every detail, learning quickly, her mind sharp and focused. She realized that this was just the beginning, that the galaxy held endless possibilities, challenges, and discoveries waiting for her. And yet, as she gazed at the stars, a small part of her heart felt a pang of sorrow. She had left her family and her home behind, severing ties that had once bound her. But she understood that true strength was not about holding on to what limits her. It was about embracing freedom, growth, and the unknown. Ethan noticed her quiet reflection. "It's natural to feel that way," he said softly. "Leaving home is never easy. But look at what you've gained. Freedom, knowledge, and the chance to explore the universe on your terms. That is far more valuable than anything they could have given you." Leora nodded, feeling a sense of clarity and purpose. She had faced fear, abandonment, and doubt, and emerged stronger than ever. Now the stars awaited, and with Ethan by her side, she knew she could meet whatever challenges lay ahead. With a final check of the ship's systems, Leora guided them out of Violia's atmosphere. leaving the scrapyard and the ruins of her past behind. The planet shrank below them, a mixture of memories and lessons learned, while the vast expanse of space stretched out before them, full of promise and adventure. For the first time in her life, Leora felt entirely free. She was no longer defined by weakness, fear, or abandonment. She was defined by courage, ingenuity, and the choice to embrace her own path. And with Ethan's guidance and friendship, she was ready to face the galaxy, confident, determined, and unstoppable. As the ship sailed into the stars, leaving Virlia far behind, Leora realized something profound. The past may shape her, but it does not define her. The future was hers to claim, and the possibilities were infinite. The stars stretched endlessly before Leora as the ship glided through the darkness of space. She could hardly believe that she was no longer confined to the scrapyard, that she was no longer abandoned or defined by her family's judgments. For the first time, she was truly free, navigating the unknown with courage, curiosity, and a human companion she had come to trust deeply. Ethan sat beside her, his hands steady on the control panels, occasionally pointing out constellations and star systems that had names she had never heard before. "See that cluster?" he asked, pointing toward a grouping of blue stars. "That's part of the Trinova system. Planets there are full of strange life and untold mysteries. Someday you'll explore them." Leora's eyes sparkled. "Someday, why wait? Let's go now," Ethan laughed. "Patience, exploration is more than just moving from one place to another. You have to learn, prepare, and understand the environment. That's what makes it meaningful and safe." Leora nodded, appreciating the wisdom in his words. She had always been eager to act, often restricted by her paralysis and her family's neglect. Now, with the ship under her command and Ethan guiding her, she had the freedom to explore safely. Every button she pressed, every lever she moved, gave her confidence and excitement. The first days of travel were filled with learning and discovery. Leora absorbed everything Ethan taught her, reading star maps, understanding navigation algorithms, and interpreting signals from distant worlds. Her mind, sharp and analytical, grasped the concepts quickly. She discovered that her disability did not limit her ability to explore, problem-solve, or lead. On the contrary, her unique perspective often allowed her to notice things others might overlook. One morning, the ship approached a small, rocky planet with glowing vegetation and swirling blue oceans. Ethan guided Leora through the landing procedure, letting her control the ship entirely. She maneuvered with precision, guiding the vessel down through the thin atmosphere and landing softly on the surface. Stepping onto the planet for the first time, Leora felt a mixture of awe and humility. The ground beneath her hoverchair was soft, almost alive, and the air carried a faint, sweet scent unlike anything on Virlia. Strange creatures with translucent wings fluttered above glowing plants, and tiny rivers shimmered with light. "It's beautiful," Leora whispered. "I never imagined anything like this existed," Ethan smiled. "And there's so much more. Every planet, every system has wonders waiting for those willing to explore, and now you're one of them." For hours, they explored, collecting samples, documenting wildlife, and analyzing the environment. Leora's excitement was boundless. She realized that her curiosity, once confined to the rusty scrapyard, now had endless horizons. The universe was vast, and she was ready to embrace it. As they prepared to leave the planet, a signal appeared on the ship's communication system. A faint, patterned transmission from a distant star system, one of the oldest human colonies, reached them. Ethan and Leora exchanged a glance. "Looks like someone wants to talk," he said. Leora leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. "Who is it?" "I don't know yet," Ethan admitted. "But it could be an opportunity to learn, share knowledge, and maybe even find others who understand our mission." They followed the signal, arriving at a massive space station orbiting a ringed gas giant. The station was bustling with activity, ships docking and leaving, beings of countless species interacting, and humans coordinating trade and exploration. Leora felt a thrill unlike any she had experienced. She realized that she was no longer alone in the universe. There were others who valued curiosity, courage, and cooperation over strength or tradition. On the station, they were greeted by scientists and explorers who marveled at the story of a paralyzed Elari girl piloting a starship. Leora's eyes widened as she realized the significance of her journey. Her courage and determination had not only saved her life, but had inspired others across galaxies. "You've done something remarkable," one scientist said. "Most would have accepted their limitations." "You refused, you embraced your potential." Leora smiled, feeling pride and humility. "I didn't do it alone," she said, looking at Ethan. "He helped me believe that I could." Ethan nodded, but his eyes reflected pride as well. "You did the hard part, I just guided you. You chose to act, to learn, and to trust yourself. That's what made the difference." While on the station, Leora and Ethan repaired and upgraded their ship, preparing for deeper exploration. Leora learned to navigate more complex systems, manage energy sources efficiently, and even conduct preliminary research on alien life forms. Every skill she acquired strengthened her confidence and reinforced the lesson she had learned in the scrapyard. Strength was not physical. It was the courage to act, the will to survive, and the curiosity to explore. Weeks turned into months, and Leora became a skilled pilot, a capable researcher, and an inspiring presence among the explorers. Her story spread across the station, becoming a symbol of resilience and hope. She realized that she had transformed from a girl abandoned in a scrapyard into a beacon of courage and possibility for others who felt limited or overlooked. One evening, as Leora and Ethan gazed out at the endless stars from the observation deck, she spoke quietly. "Do you think my family will ever understand?" Ethan considered her question. "Maybe someday, but what matters is that you understand yourself. You have proven that you are capable, that your spirit is stronger than any limitation. The universe doesn't care about weakness. It rewards courage, ingenuity, and kindness. And you have all of those." Leora smiled, feeling the truth in his words. She had survived, thrived, and now had the opportunity to shape her own destiny. The past, with all its pain and abandonment, could no longer hold her back. She was free to explore, learn, and inspire others across the stars. Their next journey took them to a system filled with vibrant planets, each teeming with life and possibility. Leora piloted the ship with increasing confidence, marveling at glowing oceans, floating islands, and skies painted with colors she had never imagined. She documented everything, knowing that her discoveries could help countless others understand the diversity and wonder of the galaxy. During their travels, they encountered beings of every shape and size. Leora learned to communicate, negotiate, and collaborate with other species, discovering that kindness, patience, and understanding often achieved more than force or dominance ever could. She realized that the lessons from her past, abandonment, struggle, and survival, had prepared her for these encounters. Her experiences had made her resilient, empathetic, and courageous. One day, they arrived at a planet rumored to have advanced ancient technology, far older than anything humans or Elari had discovered. Leora's eyes widened at the sight of towering structures made of unknown materials, glowing with energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. She felt the same spark of curiosity that had driven her to explore the scrapyard all those years ago. "This is it," she whispered. "This is what I was meant to find." Ethan nodded. "And now you're ready, let's see what secrets it holds." Together, they explored the ancient ruins, documenting the advanced technology and deciphering symbols that hinted at civilizations that had risen and fallen long before Virlia was even a planet. Leora realized that the universe was far larger, older, and more complex than she had ever imagined. And in that vastness, her life, once confined to a scrapyard, was filled with limitless possibilities. Throughout their journey, Leora never forgot the lessons of the scrapyard. She remembered the isolation, the struggle, and the determination it took to survive. But she also remembered Ethan's unwavering support, the moments of trust, and the discovery of her own potential. Those memories became the foundation of her courage, guiding her through challenges, mysteries, and new worlds. One quiet night, as they rested on the ship, Leora looked out at a distant nebula, its colors shifting and swirling like living art. "Ethan," she said softly, "I never imagined life could be like this. I never thought I could feel this free." Ethan smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Freedom isn't given, Leora, it's earned, and you've earned every bit of it. You refuse to let abandonment, weakness, or fear define you. That is what makes you extraordinary." Leora felt a swell of pride and gratitude. For years, she had been told she was powerless, that her life had no value beyond survival. Now she realized that true strength came from within, from courage, curiosity, and the will to act. She had become a pilot, an explorer, and a symbol of hope. As their ship sailed toward new horizons, Leora reflected on her journey. From the scrapyard of Violia to the vibrant planets of distant star systems, she had grown, learned, and discovered the true meaning of life and freedom. She had faced abandonment, defied expectations, and embraced her own potential. And now the universe awaited, full of wonders, challenges, and endless possibilities. For the first time in her life, Leora felt complete. She was no longer defined by paralysis, by neglect, or by the judgments of others. She was defined by courage, intelligence, kindness, and the boundless spirit of exploration. And with Ethan by her side, she knew that together they could face anything the universe had to offer. As the ship glided silently into the depths of space, stars stretching endlessly in every direction, Leora smiled, feeling the weight of the past lift from her shoulders. The future was hers to shape, the stars were hers to explore, and life, full of adventure, discovery, and hope, was hers to live. In that moment, she understood something profound. The galaxy was vast, and she was ready. She was not just surviving, she was thriving. And with every light year they traveled, Leora knew that her journey had only just begun. The abandoned girl of the scrapyard had become a beacon of courage, hope, and resilience. And as the stars shone brightly around them, she embraced her new life, ready to inspire, explore, and discover all that the universe had to offer.